from Frettie. I'm going to start off with just a basic intros, and he's going to tell a little bit about her story. We'll dive into the topic. Q&A, feel free to kind of ask questions along the way. We'll also kind of leave some additional time there at the end for other folks to kind of ask questions if they didn't get asked or answered through the topic session. We'll make sure we get as many answered as we can. And then we'll close with some special offers that we all have here tonight. So first off, just want to introduce myself. I'm Dennis Field, co-founder of Frettie. Those of you who may not know of Frettie, we're an online songwriting community, specifically kind of aimed at helping songwriters connect with one another from around the world, get feedback on the music, find opportunities, and essentially kind of work together to grow and reach each other's goals. So we do that through a number of things, webinars being one of them, the community, and other various partnerships. So, but it's not all about us. It's about Anna and AudioTheme. Those guys have, we've been working with them for a little while here. They're one of our partners. They've been kind of our go-to place to kind of promote for, WordPress themes for musicians specifically. Really cool product, super niche. She can tell you more about it. And then we can also dive into kind of their whole purpose and intent. So from there, I'd like to just kind of kick it over to Anna and can tell her story and kind of take us from there.
Awesome. Thanks, Dennis.
No problem.
All right. So my name is Anna, and I am talking to you from Dallas, Texas right now. And just give you a little bit of background on my story. I started playing music back in middle school. I started on a red Squire Stratocaster, and it was my personal goal to learn every single song by MXPX. And I always kind of had this dream of getting up in front of people and playing, and I always thought that as a kid that was something I was going to have to do with a band or another group of people. And it took me a few years to kind of really come full circle to the idea of the acoustic guitar and, the beauty of pure music in its own sense. So after about a year or so of getting started, I started writing my own music. And my junior year of high school, I put out a record, which was mainly sold to friends and family members that I pretty much just begged to take it. The local people wrote an article on it, but like I said, it was mainly something that I was just kind of doing as like a form of expression. And then went to school off in North Carolina, a very small school, and got a degree in marketing and advertising. And during that time, music kind of became something that was a stress reliever for me. So I kind of did less and less of that. Then after school, I moved to Dallas and decided that I wanted to pick it back up again. So I got in with the open mic scene here. And Dallas is a really cool place because there's a ton of talent here, but it's not uber competitive like in Nashville or in Austin. So everyone's really good about providing constructive criticism and sharing, tips and leads and things like that. So after about a year in Dallas, I just decided I was going to start kind of gigging and trying to make a go of the music career, and been doing that for a couple of years to the point where now I would say about 25% of my income is music related. So yeah, that was kind of interesting. And after about a year ago, I met the guys with AudioTheme, and they're first and foremost awesome guys. But I think that something that really differentiates them from the other players in the space is they seem to have a genuine interest in helping musicians really achieve goals and market themselves and promote themselves and produce sites that are going to accomplish goals for the musicians. And like I said, I've been with them for over a year now, and it's just been really cool. It's given me a chance to meet some really cool people like Dennis and all this other stuff. And So hopefully today I'm going to give you some good insight on, you know, what it takes to market yourself in this online world as a songwriter, and kind of wrap that around the whole idea that AudioTheme is built on, and that's to provide you guys with this awesome platform to kind of make your job a lot easier.
That's awesome. So you know, through kind of this experience, you've been able to kind of blend those two worlds. You know, from being a songwriter yourself, the marketing degree background, kind of pulling that all together to kind of create this cool, one, the knowledge that you have, but two, also kind of being able to work with AudioTheme to kind of bring all that, help them bring all that message to life to the masses. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. And it just, to me, it seemed like a normal fit or an obvious answer. But what I found out really quickly in the music world was that approaching music from a business mindset really just kind of gave me this tremendous advantage over, some of the other musicians who didn't really approach it the same way. So that's kind of what I want to talk about tonight. And
yeah,
yeah,
I like it. I like the
cool.
I like that idea of I think everybody starts off kind of down this journey. I know myself is it's very much kind of the same. We kind of learn somewhere in our early life that this is cool, this guitar is cool, and I want to create music somehow. We all get brought into it in our own little ways, but at some point you have to take that step, whether it's to either kind of just choose to make it a hobby or something that you use to kind of unwind, or passive income, or a passive kind of experience, or turn it into more of a business. And I think Carol is very similar to this. It's the same thing with the design space that I'm in every day. It's some choose to just kind of be a designer for a hobbyist, or some choose to turn it into a business. So I think anytime you're good at your craft, there's that moment when you need to make those decisions. So I'm really excited to kind of hear what you have to say about doing that. So from there, if you want to roll into the topic, I don't know if you'll have slides, but feel free to share your screen if you do. And like I said, guys, if anybody has questions, just drop them in the chat here. There's also a little questions and topics session that you can drop them into as well, or you can tweet them to us. Or if you want, you can even email them to us, and I'll try to make sure I get all of those to Anna. So that's a lot of places. Yeah. Preferably, the chat would be great.
Yeah, Dennis is going to be busy. Awesome. All right. Well, so I guess we'll just get started, and I think the let's see here. Let's do one of these guys here. All right. Are you with me?
Yep.
All right, perfect. So I think a lot of times when I get approached with songwriters or musicians of any sorts, really, they just assault me with questions is the best way I can describe it. They want to be really focused on the technical aspect of things, like, what social media platform should I get started with? What color should I make my logo? What URL should I have? And those are all really important questions, but they don't really mean a lot unless you have a really clear understanding of what your goal is and what success looks like in your eyes. So that's just the number one point I want to make, is that a lot of times we end up kind of spreading ourselves too thinly because we're told, you need to be here, you need to be in this space, Facebook is dead, Google Plus is whatever. But I like to iterate this as many times as possible, that this is the number one step. So using myself as an example, the way I approach it is at the beginning of each year, I have a goal that I want to accomplish. And these last couple of years, it's been financial, because that seems kind of shallow, but at the same time, I'm well aware of the fact that I'm going to make a lot more money with my day job. So what this does is kind of give me a way to quantify if what I'm doing is working and if it's plausible to be, you know, a continual part of my lifestyle. So with that in mind, once you have your number one priority nailed down, you're really going to use that as the platform for the next steps you're going to take, meaning that every aspect of your marketing plan that you developed has to be able to tie back to your intention to really qualify it before it's worth time or money or whatever else it may be that you're investing in it. So it's really important to make this as specific as possible. And back to the business world, metrics are a huge deal. So if you want to sell a certain amount of records or play a certain number of shows, maybe you want to write a certain amount of songs or make a certain amount of money. I can't remember. I was clicking through Frettie and I saw this one guy whose goal was to write 52 songs this year. And forgive me if you're with us and I can't remember your name, but I thought that was just super cool, because what that said to me was he has this goal that's going to allow him to accomplish a number of other goals as a side effect of hitting that number one priority. So just, if you're here, say hi, because that's awesome.
Yeah, that's funny, because just to chime in, I remember when he posted, you know, one of his songs, and he just put the hashtag in there, and I even reached out to him and I said, wow, that's awesome. You know, I said, continue to do it, because I think a lot of times, you know, without that, like you said, it's easy for us all to get kind of lost in this, like, what social network do I have to be on? And we even see that a lot of times with some of our users on Frettie. You know, they see us as this place to sometimes come to drop off, you know, their music, and unfortunately they kind of move on to the next, you know.
Right.
So we're always trying to re-engage that, and that's one part of it. Part of it is probably being distributed in all these places, but there's more to it. You have to have that goal. You need to align yourself to those goals. So I think that's a really good kind of place to kind of set that mindset, and to do that every year, I think is actually a good place to start. And then I even hear people kind of go a bit further, and they'll do quarter goals and stuff like that. So, but you know, I think that's a really good kind of first seed, is to define that goal.
Right.
And even like you said, even if it's monetary, you know, how's that look? So real cool.
Yeah. And just to kind of add on to your point there is, you know, I kind of briefly mentioned the interactions I've had with the Dallas music community. And I've found that even just saying that out loud to one other person, or, you know, sort of creating an accountability one way or another, has just tremendously boosted my motivation to go after it. So you're saying
almost sharing those goals with your peers almost kind of help you hold yourself accountable, or you get kind of a group of folks to kind of help push you forward. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly that. Plus, you know, you might run into someone who's got similar goals, and be able to just kind of bounce ideas off of one another, and it's just usually good things come from things like that.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, so the next step in this is going to be, once you have an idea as to what it is that you're trying to accomplish, so back to that number one priority, you want to adopt platforms and strategies that are going to help you supplement that, in terms of, you know, making sure that you're in the right spaces and doing the right things and delivering the right content to the right people. And this goes back to that point I was making a little earlier about spreading ourselves too thinly, to the point where we're on every social media network, but we're hardly doing anything on any of them. So the steps, or the advice I like to give there is to listen first. You know, if you've got a songwriter who someone says, wow, you sound an awful lot like so-and-so, or you just really love the way that they present themselves to the world. I love just kind of, I wouldn't say stalking, but you know, that's that's a good place to start, is seeing what they're doing the right way, and just take note of that. Another aspect is, I firmly believe that a website is really your #1 promotional asset. Even if you have more of a following on separate social media platforms or in different communities, your website is really going to be where people are going to come back to you. You know, they're always going to be looking to learn a little more about you there. And then what I would say about social networks, again, to avoid the thin spreading syndrome, is start slowly. You know, pick one or two. Your big two are still Facebook and Twitter, and then obviously for the music world, YouTube is a little more effective, especially if you want to go beyond like the local scene. You know, there's a band from Florida called Voice Avenue who they make their living making cover videos on YouTube, and they've got fans from all over the world. And then Reverb Nation, of course, or you know, SoundCloud, whichever streaming social site you want to be a part of. And
it's funny you mentioned YouTube, because the other day I was I don't know where I found this. It's probably off some like news site, and they just kind of showed, you know, it was, the headline was like, can you really make money off YouTube? And they showed what some of those top kind of, you know, I guess top users on YouTube are really making, and it's crazy. I mean, if you optimize a certain channel, how much that can actually bring back in revenue, and you know, and everything like that. So I mean, it's focus, I think, is always good, you know. So,
yeah.
real quick on, so you're saying Facebook and Twitter are still places to be. You know, obviously Reverb Nation is always kind of one of the places to kind of leverage. Do you see if are there any other up and coming channels that you've kind of been able to kind of see as places that folks are kind of gravitating to? I know we have like Meerkat and things like that. You know, obviously, you know, those are becoming, you know, live video streaming is becoming a new thing, or, you know, do you have any insight around those at all?
I think, here's my theory on that, is that, you know, like the streaming stuff, I love that. I play with another guy now. We're a duo, and we Periscope all the time, and that's just a really cool way of kind of getting people who aren't able to come to the show as to be there. I don't necessarily know, you know, it's hard to pick and choose the winners and losers of the social media world, but Instagram is another big one. I like Instagram. I think, you know, sites like that, with Twitter the same way, people kind of find themselves going down this rabbit hole of hashtags and kind of just stumble across your stuff, and it gives you another impression without really having to work too hard for it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then I would say, you know, if you're looking for specific things, like you're trying to book a certain type of gig, or you want to play weddings or something like that, there's obviously these other social media platforms that would be a worthwhile investment of your time to jump on.
Does anybody have any questions up to this point, maybe? If so, just feel free to drop it in the chat box. Good then.
Okay. So kind of in line with that same aspect, when we approach the website that we're trying to build here, we want to do that with the same goal in mind, right? A lot of people will approach me and say, hey, I really need a website because so-and-so says I need one, or this article I read says, you know, no one's going to take you seriously if you don't have a website. And I would say that that's true to an extent, but that, you know, a bad website isn't all that much better than no website. So again, we really want to look at, oh, nice. YouTube is the place to be.
Yeah, it may be great to kind of do a follow-up or something around some of these specific channels in the future.
Yeah, yeah. I know I was talking with Luke the other day, and it looks like YouTube has really stepped up their game in terms of the analytical data that they're able to provide now. And I think it's only going to get better from here. So that's exciting.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. So back to the website, we want to look at what our primary goal is, right? For what we're trying to do. Are you trying to sell records? Are you trying to book shows? Do you already have a pretty solid following and you just want to kind of keep that touch point there so that people are feeling connected to you and you're getting some feedback from your community already? So I'm gonna bring up a couple of sites here. I might get judged a little bit for Taylor Swift, but I like her. I like her a lot. So, but obviously she's on a different level than any of us will probably honestly ever be on, and it's very obvious when you land on her site that she wants you to do one of three things, right? She wants you to buy her album or buy tickets to see her world tour. And actually, if the slide was moving, it would scroll through to another buy it now call to action there. Awesome. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate that. I actually got to see her when she came through Dallas. So
That's awesome. I mean, that's a very clear call to action. I'm just looking at the arrows like pointing to
yeah,
it's you can't get any more like targeted than that.
Yeah, and I tell you, I have to point this out that Taylor Swift made, I think it is $352 million last year. So she's a very savvy businesswoman. I have to give her that. This next site that I'm going to pull up, his name is Dan Quinn, and he's pretty well known here in Dallas. You guys probably have not heard of him, but I just kind of want to use this as a comparison to Taylor Swift's website. His goals are obviously very different than hers. You see he's got pages for testimonials and booking, which is something you're probably not going to get from Taylor Swift. And then to my point earlier about the social media networks that are beneficial to you, if that's a space you want to be in, he's got these awesome steals from The Knot and Wedding Wire, which are just gonna provide like instant credibility for him. And you'll see his tagline is, one-man band for DJing weddings, corporate events, private parties, all that kind of stuff. Because his goal is actually, it's to book gigs. He's a cover guy. He makes his living by doing this kind of stuff, and his website, I think, does a phenomenal job of explaining that.
Yeah, even that gallery being on the homepage, like most people kind of bury that, and to have that right there, because I'd imagine part of people choosing a particular songwriter or musician to be at a wedding has to do with kind of their presence, you know? So, I mean, like you said, he really kind of put it front and center that the credibility is there with those kind of endorsements, where he's going to be next. And then even that gallery is like, here's me, you know, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, he does a really good job. You know, his images are him in different spaces. It's not, you don't click on it and it's him in the same bar, you know, 12 different nights or, you know, anything like that. And then he's got his upcoming shows are exactly the kinds of gigs that he's looking for in the future as well. So I think he just does he's a really savvy marketer too. I don't think he's quite up to 352 million, but he does all right. So.
Nice. Well, even, you know, even the type of imagery, like I'm just looking at that again. It's, you know, clearly, you know, he's looking to be in a certain space. So,
right.
You know, he's not playing in a bar. He's playing. These look like high-end places to be. You know, to play at, where these people are probably going to pay him a decent bit to be there. So, all that plays off in that messaging, I'm sure.
Yeah. So the two sites that I just showed you, you'll see some commonalities between the two of them, even though the musicians themselves are on completely opposite sides of the spectrum. So this is our 10 absolute non-negotiable items that you should have on your website. And what's really cool about AudioTheme, I think, is that the themes don't just have the typical web stuff that you expect. You know, they're not just SEO friendly and responsive and speedy and all that stuff, but they're actually built around the idea that musicians need these special things included in their websites. And it kind of allows you to not have to kind of hodgepodge things together, right? Like everything's in one spot so that you don't have to add all these different looking plugins, and then before you know it, you've got like this scrapbook looking website. But just to run through that list, contact information, obviously Taylor Swift's contact information is probably agents and things of that nature, but it's still there. And social links, a way to listen, that's still the number one reason someone's going to go to your website, is to hear you play, potentially buy your music if that's a possibility. Upcoming gigs, a well-written biography, and just a side note there is that we really want to write the biography to kind of align again with exactly what it is we're trying to do, goal-wise. Blog and video blog, newsletter sign up, just another touch point that's absolutely necessary. Photo galleries, links to any press, and a big one that often goes overlooked is analytics, traffic tracking. And all of these aspects, the more you can tie them back to, you know, the point you just made with Dan's site, is he seems to be very upscale, and everything about his site just kind of complemented that aspect. And I'll make sure Dennis gets this. This is a cool looking little PDF that we put together that has all of these assets, and then a brief little description about how to get the most out of them. So you'll get that in an email from Dennis.
That's super valuable.
Cool. All right.
Should we pause for quick questions to see if anybody has any questions up until this point regarding kind of maybe even some challenges they may be having with their current site, or, you know, anything related to those kind of core pieces that all websites should have? Maybe we can see if anybody has any questions to that, or even additional things to add that they've done that maybe be helpful for others.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We'll have to wait for that delay.
Yeah.
This is good info though, for sure.
Awesome. All right. So you guys can just kind of throw questions if they do come up. But moving on to
right there. What does AudioTheme use to track data?
That's a good question, and you'll see that on the next couple of slides. But just a brief overview is there's several different approaches you can use for that. AudioTheme as a company uses Google Analytics because it's super duper powerful. But there are some other options that I'm going to touch on when we get to like the actual tools to download and look into using. Cool. All right. So when we want to start thinking about creating a strategy, we want to think about the kinds of things that we're going to do to stay in touch with fans. And pretty quickly, I would say you'll start to see the impact of the different kinds of things that you're attempting to do. Some of the things you want to consider is, like, how does your target audience actually digest information? Where are they during the day? What time makes sense? What platform makes sense? This webinar is kind of an example of that, right? So most of us are singer-songwriter / some other day job. So this time seems to work for us. But that's just something to consider as you're starting to push this stuff out. But ask for feedback. That's another huge thing is, ask people to give you some insight as to what they're thinking about what you're writing, what you're singing, the same sort of thing that you're doing within Frettie, right? Like, you value the opinions of these people because they mean something to you. So ask them for their opinion. And the most important thing I could say to do as you're working through some of this stuff is to measure your results. And you can do that in a number of different ways. Analytics, which we briefly touched on. If you've got something to download, you're going to see how many times people are hitting that. If your goal is to make money and book shows, you'll see if your marketing efforts are paying off there. Basically, you want something that's going to tie it back to that big goal that you laid out at the beginning of this conversation, in the beginning of the year, whatever it was that you, whenever it was that you kind of made up your mind about what you're doing. All right. So some of the tools that are going to be really beneficial for you guys, social media sites. I hope you've all heard of Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff, and I don't need to send those links out. But my one tip for that is, try to stay consistent with handles and URLs. And what I mean by that is, if you're, for example, if your domain name is duotonesmusic.com, you want to try to be at facebook.com/duotonesmusic, instagram.com/duotonesmusic, just so that people aren't having to kind of guess where to find you. It just makes everything a lot more simple. Now, that's obviously a perfect world. It doesn't always work out that way, but it's a good ideal to strive for. And
that's actually a really good point, and it's one of those small little details, but I think it can be very beneficial down road. But even sometimes, like I know personally, like if there's a new site coming up that I'm hearing about, I may just jump on there just to reserve that name, just because if it does gain traction, you may not have a chance to get it back. So, obviously something the size of Facebook, there's always a challenge, but if you hear something, early enough, you may be able to just snag it, wait on it, see if it becomes one of the top sites that you want to focus on or platforms, and then leverage it, but at least you have your name.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great point. And, most sites, they give you an option to kind of build your page without even publishing it. So it's really not taking you but the 5 minutes to register that site. But luckily, we don't live, it's not like they're getting the telephone number wrong and they can't find you at that point. But it is just like one more thing that we should like to pay attention to. So some of the options for websites, obviously AudioTheme, that's going to be my biggest vote for obvious reasons. And some of the other ones are Wix and Bandzoogle and HostBaby. Just one caveat there is to make sure that it is absolutely mobile responsive, because last year was actually the first year where mobile traffic overtook desktop traffic. So you'll see sometimes you'll log onto a website and you're like, man, this looks awesome. And then you'll look at it on your phone and it's just garbled and beyond recognition. So that's just one thing we really want to pay attention to. Not just the website itself, but also the components within it. If you're streaming video or audio, those also have to be playable on pretty much any platform. So that's always a good question to ask before you spend money on something.
And I think too, just to add to that point, I know we're looking at ways to go responsive. This is a little bit more of a challenge with something like a site this big, or a community site like this.
Right.
But,
yeah.
A lot of it, like in recent months, or I think maybe 6 months ago, Google was kind of putting more emphasis to responsive sites. So, there's a chance if you're not responsive today, that's also affecting those SEO results. So, not just for the experience of your visitors, but even Google is now saying, hey, this is so important that we're going to give weight to search results based off if it's responsive or not. So just another added reason to make sure.
Yeah, there was it was back in the summer, and it was mobile get-in, they called it. And what they decided that they were actually gonna start docking you points if your site wasn't mobile friendly when the bots crawled it. And there's a tool somewhere that I know I can track down and have, make sure we include that in the follow-up email for you guys to basically just you throw your URL in there, and it crawls it really, really quickly, and it says, yeah, you passed the test, or no, that's not good. But that's a great tool, just as something to add on there.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. So analytics, to go back to the whole measuring everything being really important, Buffer is this really super cool social media tool. And what it does, it allows you to, for free, you can add up to, I think it's 5 different social media accounts, and you can schedule the time that those posts are going to go out. It's got some really intuitive and intelligent auto scheduling features too, that kind of, the more you use it, the better it gets. And probably the best part of it is that after the posts go live, you can actually go back and look at how many people saw it, how many people clicked through it. And if you're using Google Analytics in conjunction with that, it actually tags the campaign automatically so that you can dig a little deeper into, some of the more meaningful metrics like conversions or time on site. And Google Analytics is, of course, the I guess analytical standard, we'll call it, which is again free and pretty pretty detailed, does some really cool stuff, allows you to run reports and you know, maybe test some different designs and things like that if you want to. If you log in there and it looks a little scary for you, if you're running WordPress, there's site stats from Jetpack, and that essentially does the same thing. It's just a watered down version, still really insightful and really helpful. But those are the big three. Those are the ones I look at on a pretty consistent basis to kind of gather what's working and what's not working, and what's almost working and just needs to be tweaked a little bit. And obviously, you know, one of the things I kind of started off by saying that the whole reason I got back into the music world was getting back into this community within Dallas of open micers and giggers and things like that. And I would just say that while it's not necessarily like a marketing strategy in terms of helping you land gigs or things like that, the insight and the camaraderie and inspiration you get from groups like the ones you're seeing now is just tremendous. And I can't exaggerate, you know, the benefit of those things.
Yeah, that's been a common theme through, I think, most of these webinars is, you know, you have the site, the marketing part of it, but there's that idea of like the community and the connections, whether that's, you know, in person, webinars, events, things that you do there, but online, and, you know, that idea of nobody gets to where they're at alone, you know? So it's a very common thread. So. Yeah.
Well, I think you've had a lot of intelligent people on your webinars then, because that seems to be the when I ask someone, you know, how they've been able to have as much success as they've had, it's been typically that's been a major part of it as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Well, that's it for my presentation. I don't know if we want to move on to Q&A or.
Yeah, let's do some Q&A, and maybe we could even dive into, you know, if folks have any questions around some of those tools. Even be curious to know what platforms they may be using for their current site. You mentioned a few there. I could also vouch for AudioTheme. I think not only, you know, for me, a lot of it is, you know, how quick can you start to get that web presence up there. You know, obviously, you know, WordPress has a lot of great themes, but, you know, they're not always built. Most of them aren't built for the songwriter, for the musician. So AudioTheme kind of has really created that niche that not only does it have all those key things you need in it, but it has that really polished look that anybody can start working with, which I think is a huge benefit. So you don't have to kind of configure these templates and stuff, which is a nightmare. So
yeah, awesome. Well,
what LinkedIn groups are out there?
Yeah, that's a really good question. There are a couple of larger ones. I know that one of them just actually shut down after LinkedIn kind of redid all their group settings. But if you do a search for musicians, if you want to get more specific, there's music marketing groups, there are DIY musician groups, there are music industry networking sites. The one thing I'd say about LinkedIn is that a lot of it seems to be, you know, Dennis kind of mentioned this briefly, people do the drive-by posts is what I like to call it, where they just are, you know, obviously doing nothing, but someone has told them, if you post this on 1 million sites, then you'll become famous. And that gets a little annoying, but there's definitely worthwhile content. It just kind of takes you a while to dig down and find it.
Another place that I like to start too is, you know, kind of go to the brands that you're already maybe using. You know, they may have something out there already to kind of support that community effort. All great brands and services have some type of community piece to it. That's what drives kind of their core. So, you know, whether it's a songwriting organization that you belong to, there may be, you know, if it's big enough, there may be a group there already online, and it's just a matter of searching for it. Facebook obviously is another great place for groups. So I feel like those tend to be a little less of the drive-by, a little bit more, and I don't know if it's just the nature of Facebook in general versus like LinkedIn. LinkedIn has always been, it always feels a little bit like drive-by, right? Like even the posts are just repostings or so. So maybe check out Facebook groups. I know Frettie has a Facebook group that anybody's obviously, if you're a member, you can join it. You know, and usually, you know, like I said, if you're around organizations that you're already attached to, there's probably some type of group out there for an affiliate in your local area.
Cool. Just to throw this one, I'm going to throw this in the chat box. This is a cool group that I've been a part of for a while. So I thought I was going to throw it in the chat box. There it goes. So there's a guy by the name of John Acuff, and he started this thing last year where every 30 days he wanted you to kind of create this new goal and work towards it. And there's a large Facebook group based on that, but this is a subgroup based on, it's 30 days singer-songwriter, and that's a really cool place if you want feedback on a song or you know, feedback on a website or anything really. That's a cool place to check out.
I'll have to check that out too.
Yeah.
Luke, can you touch on email services out there to help grow and send emails? That's a good one.
Yeah. Thanks, Luke. That is a good question. My favorite is MailChimp. I like MailChimp because it lets you start off for free. And I think that, you know, that's always something that's nice. They've also
I'll second that. Okay. MailChimp is really, and it's easy to use. I don't know, they've made it so, you know, like you said, you have the free account, which is usually plenty. And even as you upgrade, it's very minimal. We use it for everything at Frettie, but I even use it for other things that I do. So that's always been my go-to. So, and I think just to add to some of that, I mean, when you're looking at these tools, and Anna, maybe you have some insight as to what AudioTheme integrates with, but look to that integration angle too, because some tools don't integrate with other things that you're using. So if you go too niche into some space, you may find out that your email marketing tool doesn't integrate with AudioTheme or something, and you're going to have to figure out a way to get all those subscribers into your site or whatever, or from your site into MailChimp, and it could become a little bit of an issue. So that's one thing to kind of look at when you're looking at tools.
Yeah, that's a great point. And that was something I was going to mention too, that I like so much about MailChimp is they do have like a really seamless WordPress plugin that just lets you, it's plug and play, and it's does all the work for you.
Nice. What are some of the, I have some other questions too, but I'll hold those until others are done. But what are some of the best ways to engage with fans on Twitter? Would you recommend auto DMs? That's another good question.
Yeah, that is a good question. Personally, I'm not a fan of the auto direct message. I think it's a little salesy, you know, a little pushy right from the get-go. But I think, I think there's probably, like anything, there probably is a right way to do it. If I, just as an example, something that's a little same idea, different space. I connected with a guy on LinkedIn, and I can't remember why, but he was a musician who was also in the marketing world, and sent me a very form letter, just like a, hey, nice to meet you, here's a little bit about me, and that sort of thing. And it was effective in starting a conversation, but he wasn't necessarily trying to get me to do anything right from then.
Yeah, I think, with everything that you do, there's a level of like authenticity that has to happen, for the best conversions. I mean, nobody really buys, right away. Like, I know, like, we'll follow songwriters that we'd love to, have join the community, and sometimes we'll get these auto DMs that are like, hey, check out the song or buy it here. And
right.
For us, we always want to make sure that we're bringing the like-minded folks together in the community, whether that means we have to sacrifice growth, but I'd rather have people who are in it together versus like just plucking anybody, right? So,
yeah.
I think that's the same thing with your audience, right? Like, if you're trying to sell music, there's a reason why Taylor Swift, just to go back to that analogy, and there's plenty of them like her, right? They have the fans because it's always been done the hard way, even though the hard way is never the best, is never fun, but
right.
That loyal fan base will always buy records, so being authentic is always the better way to go if you can do it.
Agreed, 100%. And I think I've never had anyone, if you've got any sort of presence online, again, to go back to like the telephone directory, if they don't have your URL exactly right, there's still a million different ways they can find you. And I've never had anyone say, you know what, I'd really like to buy your music and I can't find it. So yeah, that's just kind of how I think about that. But
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. What about blogs? That's always a question that kind of can come up. It's like there's a lot of work that goes into writing blogs and writing content and documenting your a songwriter's journey. However, people shape these out, right? Like, obviously, there's goals for blogs, but would you recommend folks launching blogs, or is that more of an advanced kind of marketing tactic that that could kind of backfire if you're not ready to kind of take on that effort? What's your thoughts there?
So when I think about blogs, there are really two goals that people are trying to hit with them. One is search engine. They want to write stuff that people are going to be looking for. As a songwriter, I don't really see that being. Can't really think of anything that I would write as a musician, just about my own music, that would be like crazy SEO friendly. And then the other aspect of that is to just kind of give your following a little more insight into your world. And I love when songwriters will post kind of like a breakdown of a song that they've just written, or one of their more popular songs, and they say like, here's what was going on in my life when I wrote this song. And I think that's tremendously powerful.
Yeah, so I think what you're saying is it really depends on what those goals are. Like, if maybe you're trying to, and I'm just brainstorming a thought, but maybe if you're trying to kind of launch or kind of rev up some marketing and awareness around maybe an EP that may be launching, maybe you start doing some documentation around that. But it seems like for general sake, if you're going to have a blog, it's best to have a goal to it than to just write and not write and go months, years without something. And, the thing becomes, it is very much an artifact that's going to live out there that some folks may go, wow, you still writing music? Like, where have you been? You know? So
Right. Yeah.
I know I'm guilty of checking the blog first.
Yeah. I think that's human nature too, you know, like, I'm guilty of that too. I have so many ideas, and then it's just, you know, you run out of time and things like that. And
Yeah.
but yeah, I think it's nothing but a good thing. I definitely don't think it's going to hurt you in any way, shape, or form. So.
Yeah. Cool. Paul has a question. Well, two questions. Posting the slides on our Facebook group.
Sure.
We'll definitely make sure that we get those there, as well as the recap email will have the slides as well as anything else that will be shared tonight. And then we'll also do the video recap, send that up next week. Oh, and also I'm working with a 13-year-old Star. Any thoughts about what she should do? I think those are always good questions.
Yeah. In terms of marketing, I'm assuming, right? Because if she's already a star, she probably is out in front of people on a pretty consistent basis. One of the things that I would recommend for her is to tie back her performances in person to her web presence. And you see this done a lot of ways. You know, there are some people who get up there and they say, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and all of those things. And again, to reference my earlier point, you know, I don't think there's ever been someone who said, I couldn't find you on Facebook and I was looking for you. But just to have, make a note of, hey, I do have a website. There's music on there, and there's videos on there. There's all this other cool stuff. What I do is I have these, they're just business cards, and I put them on the stage, and they've got my my web address, my email, and my phone number on them. And those are probably my most, probably the best investment I've made in terms of promotional materials for music. A lot of times, you know, if someone hears me out, they'll pick them up and go to the website, and then it ends up that they're sharing that with all their friends and family and stuff like that. So it's just kind of like something that they can take with them, and that in and of itself is a huge deal. So does that help, Paul? Or if you have more specific questions, you can let those fly too.
Well, while we're waiting for the delay, maybe it's a good time to jump into some of the offerings that I know you guys set up for folks attending today, and then we can talk about the Frettie offering. So
cool.
So I don't know if you want to start with what AudioTheme is going to offer the folks attending today. I'll drop their link in here.
Yeah, please do that. So what we've decided is that we're going to offer up a coupon for any of our themes, and you'll see we've got several to go choose from. And while you're on the site, you can kind of check out a bunch of different artists who are using our products and things like that. We've got a blog in there too. But this coupon, Dennis is going to share it, I think, is 20% off of any of our themes. So that's a pretty good deal.
I'm dropping the URL to the themes page directly, and then if you use promo code Frettie, obviously the quotes, you'll get the 20% off. So feel free to definitely. I think it's a great offer, obviously. And then, you know, I think the biggest thing that, like I was saying earlier about AudioTheme, is the optimization, that it's already there for you. I mean, I don't know if you can speak to the time it would take to kind of go from nothing to something with AudioTheme, but I imagine it's within, you know, hours, probably at most, you know, because WordPress is very efficient as it is. And then you have these themes that just look rock solid, which is why we're all about them.
Yeah, I'm obviously a big fan. I have my own site, and then I just started this this duo act with another guy in Dallas, and I went and I got the theme and I had the website up within a day. So it was just kind of like, this is pretty awesome. But
yeah. Did that link come through? It's showing like it is on mine, but not.
I'm not seeing anything in the chat box.
Interesting. Let me quickly refresh here. I don't know why it wouldn't be. If you want to drop it into, you can, just to make sure everybody gets it.
Sure.
Try it again. I'll also email this out as well. Let me pause what was happening on the other side there.
And then just use the coupon code like that.
Gotta log in. I think it was just, that was the issue. It logged me out.
Okay.
Can everybody still hear us? All right. Hopefully everybody can still hear us. The Hangout signal. All right, here's the code. There we go. And then Matt asked, is there a plugin for a video loop background to integrate with an audio theme background?
Ask it again.
Is there a plugin for a video loop background to integrate with an audio theme background?
A background for the entire site. I don't believe that that's something that we have right now. Not to say that it's not something that could be added down the line. Luke might be able to kind of speak on if that's in the works or not. You can embed videos and host them on the site. I just don't think that having one as like the entire background is something right now.
Yeah, I imagine there's some optimization that would have to happen there for sure.
Right.
What are some of the other things that AudioTheme has kind of built in there for songwriters? You mentioned kind of, some of those optimizing tools, but what are some other things that kind of make them special?
Oh man, where do I start?
Or is it or does it allow you to kind of use use outside kind of WordPress plugins with AudioTheme, or is
oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
So probably my biggest thing with AudioTheme and the thing I use the most is the gig functionality of it, and just because I'm not recording albums every day, but I'm adding gigs every day, and there's this really cool back end aspect to it that kind of allows me to take notes on the venues that I play at, which is, I know it seems like a silly thing, but if something happens where this manager hates X, Y, and Z, then every time I go to book a show there, it's reminding me, hey, don't wear the black t-shirt or whatever it may be. So it's got stuff like that built in that isn't really anything that I probably thought I would ever use even. But that's some of the subtle stuff I feel like you just won't get anywhere else. But some of the
cool.
yeah, some of the other ones that I know a lot of people like. There's no limit on the amount of like songs you can upload. You can organize records by type. You can organize videos by type. So say you want a video library specifically of like all your original stuff, and then you want a different set of all your covers and stuff like that. That's possible. And just really slick stuff. I have to say, like, if you haven't been to the demo sites, like, just go in there and play around. A lot of the sites are, the demo sites are set up to where you can actually go into like the customizer of it and kind of get a feel for how the whole thing works. And then there's all sorts of videos and stuff like that.
Nice, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's, like I said, it's great. I definitely think everybody should check it out. And we're obviously, continuing to kind of shout the message on our end. Everybody who signs up, it's obviously in every email we send out. So definitely a great product. So
thanks.
And I think it's solving a real solid pain that, the difference is, very similar to Frettie, and I think in many ways is, sure, you have things like Wix out there, and I know Wix just launched some type of music kind of offering, and then you have Squarespace, but they're appealing to the masses.
Right.
With what you guys are doing, it's very much targeted down to the needs that songwriters have. And I imagine it scales as you scale. So, and that's the same thing that we're all about. It's about being kind of niche to where you can offer the most value. So I think it's great.
Right.
Cool. Well, I know we're a little over time. I just wanted to drop in kind of the offer we have. If you're not a member of Frettie, we're also offering kind of 20% off of our first year's membership. So if you click that URL, if you want to join the community, you'll be able to jump in, pay your membership fee. You'll get instructions how to log into the site. You get access to the community and a number of other kind of offerings that we have for partnerships exclusive to those who are members, as well as continue to get notified of things like this, other exclusive things that we have throughout the year. So, I definitely encourage you to take that offer. But I also want to make sure, if you guys have any questions, feel free to hit them here before we wrap. If not, shoot me an email, tweet us, and we'll make sure we get it over to you. Even if it's some technical things, I imagine if anybody just chooses to kind of use AudioTheme after this, if you wanted to kind of kick a question over, I'm happy to kind of pass it along to those folks if that's how it has to get there. So, but I imagine they also have a support portal to check out as well.
And then I'll make sure that Dennis gets he has it, but I'll make sure he includes my email address too, so that should you guys have any follow-up questions, I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. So.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, if nobody has any other questions, we'll call this a wrap, and appreciate you guys hanging out with us tonight. Actually, first and foremost, where can folks find you, Anna, online?
Oh, that's a good question. So audiotheme.com is that's going to be the place to get all the cool AudioTheme stuff. You can find me specifically at Anna, DITO.com, which is going to forward to the DiTommaso, but that's where I hang out. And then if you want to check out, I'll throw this in here. This is my latest and greatest is duotonesmusic.com, and that's the newest project that we're working on now. So.
Cool. And what was it, duotones.com? Because I'm not sure if it would.
Duotonesmusic.com.
I don't know if I spelled that right. Duotones. hoping that was right. Because I don't know if it went through when you send it over. But cool. Awesome. Well, definitely check AudioTheme out, check us out, and then I appreciate you guys hanging out with us.